Good evening, and thank you for joining us again. We have a couple questions sitting in our inbox, and so as is my want to do, is we just talk about them. They're kind of generic. What's my view on abortion, and what's my views on the environment? And so we're going to have this discussion. For people who have solid views on one of these things, many of you will probably find my answers wishy-washy. But the reason for that isn't because they're wishy-washy, it's because these are complicated conversations. We have competing moralities. We have various viewpoints, different ways to calculate things. And we have to have more. Our conversations have to be more complicated when we have these kind of complicated issues. So we're going to start off with the environment. It is human nature to make a mess. It is also human nature to try to clean it up and to try to figure out how to live cleaner. And so I think one of the things as we do going forward is we have to be more careful about how we try to clean things up. Is battery-powered cars cleaner than gasoline-powered cars? As a whole, probably. But I don't think it's a slam dunk. When you talk about battery production and then the end of life, dealing with the batteries of cars, the environmental damage equation is probably still in the electric car's favor. And going forward, it will probably become better. But I don't think it's a slam dunk. And so we want to be careful before we use government mandates to determine the future rather than allow technology and the innovative culture that exists in California to create new technologies. We don't want to force it to go one direction when California has a proven track record of coming up with new, innovative technologies based upon the freedom to do so. And so while we want to move forward, we want to figure out how to live cleaner, we have to do it smartly. We for the longest times were recycling cardboard, but it didn't work the way we thought it did. We all thought we put our cardboard into the separate container. It goes off, it gets sorted, it gets recycled, and we get new cardboard boxes for Amazon packages or whatever. But what was really happening is those were getting gathered together, sent over to China to get processed. It was actually been more environmentally friendly just to bury it in a landfill because cardboard's actually quite biodegradable. And then we're now having composting regulations where you want to throw your scraps into your own composter rather than put it into the landfill. But what we don't think about is that landfills need that type of organic matter to help themselves work. Otherwise, you have to add enzymes and all kinds of other chemicals to get them to work properly. And so we want to be careful before we make mandates that make us feel better, that emotionally strike our nerves and say emotionally make us feel like we're doing something. But the reality is we're not, because we don't factor in the whole chain, the whole pollution chain. We don't factor in the cobalt mines. We don't factor in what the heck we're going to do with these batteries in 20 years. We don't factor that in because, we want our clean air. And we do. We want clean air. I want it just as much as you. I remember as a child here in Sacramento, in the mid 80s, walking to school, you could actually see the air. You could see the smog on an average day. And we actually have clean air now. I can literally remember the difference. And it's a grand thing how we've grown, but yet gotten cleaner. So it is possible. We've actually done a lot. And there's room to go. But we just have to be smarter. We can't have politicians who are making decisions based upon emotions and votes. We need to be more careful. We need to listen to all the scientists and say, hey, wait a minute. Is it more environmentally friendly to create a sea of solar panels in a desert or to create a small lake for hydropower? I don't have that answer. I don't know if there is an exact answer, but we have to talk about it. A dam creates a lake. It destroys an environment, but it also creates another one. A sea of solar panels in a desert just destroys a desert. So I don't know what the right answer is. Solar panels better than coal plants? Absolutely. Are they better than nuclear plants? I don't know. Are they better than gas powered plants, natural gas plants? I don't know. In the future, probably. Today, with the need of stable electricity, we can't jump in with both feet. We have to be careful. There are other consequences than just, the environmental damage that we do. And we also have to accept that there's only so much California by ourselves can do. China, other Southeast Asian countries, third world countries who we need to help them skip a generation of development. We need to help them go from being dirty to being clean without having to go through the same process we did. And, that's where we should actually be focusing our efforts. Rather than banning plastic straws in California, which isn't going to do anything to keep the ocean clean, we should be helping these Southeast Asian countries not pollute the ocean, because that's where most of the plastic in the ocean is coming from. And that's where our dollars and our efforts should be better spent. Okay. So now we go on to the difficult issues of abortion. And nobody likes abortion. Nobody wants to be in the position where they get one. And this is one of these cases where my personal views and my political views kind of differ. My heart breaks just thinking about it. But the consequences of the government prohibiting abortion are actually greater than them being legal. I think this has been shown time and time again. And for me, a woman who is pregnant by violence should not have to justify her decision to anybody. And if the consequence of that is that we have legal abortions, then we have legal abortions. Here in California, we are lucky. No matter what the national politics does, California has a protection of abortion through court decisions on our right to privacy. It has been weakened recently as the government has decided that they can manipulate and force you to have vaccinations. The concept of my body, my choice is no longer rock solid, and that's a shame. You want to convince somebody to do something, that's fine. I'm not against vaccinations. I think we could pay for them. Anybody who wants one should get one, regardless of ability to pay. I have no problem violating my libertarian ideals to do that with tax money if needed. But what I won't do with tax money is force someone to inject a foreign substance into their body. Because if the government can force you to carry around a foreign substance, they can force you to carry around a baby. It's actually the same right. The right to control what goes on inside your body must be sacrosanct. Oh, my tongue isn't working tonight. It must be rock solid. Because once you start creating chinks in an armor where society or the government can tell you what you can do inside your body, they can start to decide to tell you what you can do inside your body. And that's dangerous. Many of us would like to have a different way. Like if a baby's viable, you would like to be able to separate them completely. And so you don't have to deal with abortions as much. But quite frankly, there's no organization competent enough to pull that kind of thing off. And so the way we deal with that is through education, through tracking down predators, and through helping women who are in situations that are out of their control, whose economic situations are difficult, we can help them. We can get families back together. We can do other things to reduce the need for abortions, but we should never make them illegal. Morality and law are not the same thing. We talk about competing moralities, and this is what it is. This is why we argue so much over abortion, is because it's these two strong moral foundations. Everything has a right to live, and yet everybody has a right to control what goes on inside their body. Those are fundamental truths. Those are both fundamental truths. And so in a case like abortions, these are in severe conflict. And when severe conflict like that, we have severe arguments. When you have severe arguments, what you have to do is stop repeating yourself. Stop dehumanizing the person who has the other moral argument, because it's just as moral as yours. They're coming from a moral place that you are. They've just come to a different conclusion. There is no good answer here. And I think that's the message. You know, some of life's troubles don't have answers. They have the best we can do. And there's far too few of us who are willing to stand in front of voters and tell them that. But the best we can actually do is just to continue the discussion and hope it moves forward. But if you're talking, you're not fighting. And that's my goal. Our goal here is to stop fighting and to start talking. Because if we want a better life, we have to learn to love each other. Doesn't mean like each other, but it does mean love each other. Thank you for your time. Good night, and love everybody.